In this video, I will demonstrate how to use Excel to calculate some basic statistical properties on a given dataset. In particular, we've got here a series of 12 subjects, each of which is characterized in terms of their age in column B, their weight in column C, and their height in column D. I want to calculate so-called descriptive statistics for each of these three different variables. Let's start by calculating the mean age for this sample. I can click on the cell where I want my mean to be reported, and I can start my command by pressing the equal button. As always, whenever we require Excel to perform a calculation for us, we need to start by pressing equal. I now need to use the command to calculate the mean in Excel. This command is called average, which is of course a synonym for mean, and if I start to type the name average, I am presented with a menu of commands that start with the same string of letters, and I can select the one I want, which is average. And there is also a useful pop-up text that reminds me of what the command does, so I can check that the command is going to calculate exactly what I want. I can double-click on the command, and then I'll select the data values that I want the command to operate on. I can then press Enter, and Excel will calculate the mean of the selected data values. If I now want to calculate the mean for weight, I can repeat exactly the same process, or more simply, I can use a fundamental feature of Excel whereby I can simply drag a function over two adjacent cells, and Excel will automatically update the arguments of the function so that it will calculate the same operations but on new data values. How to do this? Well, the standard default appearance for the Excel cursor is this fat white cross. If I now move my cursor to match the bottom right corner of the cell that contains the function I'm interested in, the cursor changes shape, okay, from a white fat cross to a thin black cross. Now, if I press my mouse button and keeping the button pressed, I drag my cross over two adjacent cells, then Excel will automatically copy the same function, so in this case the average function, and it will update the data. So for example, in this cell, the average is now performed over the data in column C, which is exactly what I want. This is the average weight for these subjects. Same for column D. So with a single operation with a mouse, I was able to reproduce the mean calculation across different columns. The next property that can be calculated is the median. To do that, I can again identify the cell I want the result to be stored, press equal to start a calculation, and then I want to identify the command to calculate the median. In this case, there is no ambiguity. The command is called median, so I can select it by either double-clicking or by pressing the Tab button. I can now highlight the data values I want to calculate the median of, and if I press Enter, the median will be calculated by Excel. To calculate the median for the other two variables, again, I can simply drag the expression over to the adjacent cells. The next statistics that I can calculate is the mode. To calculate the mode, I again start typing the name of the function, and in this case I want to select mode.sngl, which stands for the single most frequently occurring data value in my set. I double click, I highlight again the data values, and I obtain 23 as the most frequently occurring data value in the corresponding dataset. I can then transfer across the expression, hence obtaining the modes of the remaining data values. The next property is the variance. The variance can be calculated using the function var. Okay? In this case, the var function has two different variants. In particular, I can choose to calculate a variance based on the entire population, or I can choose to calculate the variance based on a sample. Most of the times, we want to calculate the variance based on a sample, because it is typically unlikely that our dataset will represent the entire population that we are interested in. In this case, for example, the dataset is a sample of 12 subjects only. I can select once again the function var.s, highlight the corresponding data values, and press enter to finalize the calculation and obtain the corresponding result. I can copy across once again to calculate the variance over the remaining two datasets. Finally, the standard deviation can be calculated using the function stdev, and also in this case I need to choose whether I want to calculate the standard deviation based on the entire population or based on a sample. For consistency, this involves the calculation of a standard deviation based on a sample. I again highlight the data values that the function needs to operate on, and Excel will return the correct value for the sample standard deviation. Dragging across the expression, I can finalize the calculation for the remainder of my dataset.